Kazu and walks to the store focused on his phone for a late-night snack. His attention is drawn when a group of customers leave the store in a state of panic. Two girls run up to him, knocking the phone out of his hand. The reason for the hysteria becomes relative when a man comes out swinging a knife. He turns to run, while also asking the girls to do the same. He stops, turns, and finds the two still on the ground. Frozen in fear, the assailant threatens to finish them off as he runs towards him, married, and seeing that this is a moment to show some strength of will and approaches the attacker, stopping him. Turns to order the girls to get away from there, but he stops in mid-sentence when he realizes that he is bleeding. The assailant gets scared and runs away from the scene. The girls run to him crying. As the life leaves his body, he apologizes for making them cry. As the sound of sirens disappears, he wakes up and doesn't recognize the ceiling he's looking at, so he sits up, wondering if he's in the hospital. He thinks he's in a fancy room as a reward for helping the girls. As he makes a panoramic view of the room, his eyes lock with those of Sylvia, who calls him master. He falls as she runs to embrace him. A lady claiming to be his mother also hugs him. To his confusion, he looks at the giant mirror next to the bed. He looks at the giant mirror beside his bed and doesn't recognizes his reflection. He then starts to panic and runs. The two ladies hold him and ask, "Is everything alright?" He continues to panic, wanting to know who is that in the mirror. They manage to calm him down while he opens and closes his hands to make sure this is his new body. The women are still worried while they ask if he is alright. Sylvia speculates that he must be confused because he has been sleeping for a week. His mother checks his temperature and that his fever is down, but suggests that he rest a bit more. He should rest a bit more. She thinks he must be hungry, so she suggests he must be hungry, so she orders the maid to bring him some soup for him now that he is alone in the room. The guy imagines that he is reincarnated. This means that he didn't survive in his first life, but he finds consolation in having saved those girls. He decides to check the room first until he is interrupted by Sylvia, who brings him the soup. He really likes it and can even taste the vegetables. The taste of the vegetables and the meat in the food. He tries to fight the maid while she goes to put him to bed, but this time he answers many of her questions. His name is Fallow Ford. He is currently 3 years old. His father and his mother are called Gary Sarah, respectively. He has an older sister called Rain. 2,000 brothers. Older as his father, has 2 wives. Some refer to him as a man of. His father is a high-ranking nobleman with an army charged with protecting the southern borders against foreign invaders. Is also a nearby forest full of monsters that they have to be careful of. Cain is excited when she hears this. Says that they don't need to worry about this because the adventurers defeat the monsters as their job. He asks if they fight with swords, and Magia Sylvia confirms this makes him even more excited because he also wants to try to use magic. She informs him that he has to learn to read and write first, then he starts to study because he has decided to live the rest of his life in this world as Cain. Since in his life he recently lost his grandfather, who was his last relative. Nobody will miss him, and he will have nothing to lose later on. His father is surprised to learn that Cain can read and write at such a young age, then adds that he can do math, but they don't know that he has the head of a high school student. His mother comments that he might be a genius, but Cain turns his attention to Sylvia, affirming that she is a good teacher. His compliment almost makes her cry. His father is interested in why he decided to study. Suddenly his mother too has noticed that he has been different since recovered from the fever. Cain just explains that he is trying to learn everything he can about the world. His father finds it very admirable because he be able to pass on his property to him. So he thinks it is a good step to falling to succeed in life. Seeing that his father supports him, he begs to be able to read books about magic and the history of the kingdom. His father grants his mother is happy that he is interested in magic, but she points out that he is not yet ready to use magic because he has not yet reached the age to be baptized. Their father agrees on this point, stating that he will need to wait until he is 5 before he can practice, but for now he can begin to study the books. Cain begins to study and is surprised that he can use magic to create fire, but he quickly hides it when Sylvia suddenly enters his room. He doesn't understands why he can use magic so young, but he is excited. He tries again, but overdoes it with the intensity, forcing him to throw it out the window. He quickly stops when the maid and her sister enter. He is sure that Renner saw it, but she only discovered that he has been studying about the outside world. She realizes that he is interested in this subject, so she decides to teach him more by stopping in his room every day. She taught him about the 300 years of history of the kingdom and the different races that live there, like the dwarf elves and the beast people, and that they are also the cutest things in the world. Hearing all this, he feels like going on an adventure out there. 2 years have passed, and the day of Cain's baptism day has arrived, but he is late. The boy apologizes for keeping his family waiting, but it was worth it, because they comment on how handsome he looks. Handsome. The head of the family is in his carriage. As the normal people watching rain, Cain also seems excited because it is the first time he sees the outside world. He asks his sister to show his statistics. After going through the ritual, she opens her menu, and we see that he can use 3 types of elemental magic, but he avoids trouble by pretending he doesn't. The part that says she adores his younger brother, he changes the subject. His statistics are impressive, and his mother adds that Rain has level 2 that he received from the god of magic. His father sees that Cain is a bit confused, so he explains that magic and blessing go from levels 1 to 5. The higher the level, the more natural talent the person has. His mother adds that the blessing is very useful because it determines how much magic is necessary to activate a spell. This protection is given by a god that is part of the strong marina faith that is practiced in the kingdom. Some say that the god wears a straw hat. People dedicate their worship to the gods of the 7 pillars. The ritual of baptism is to inform these gods that Cain has reached the age of 5, while the whole family kneels before the 7 statues in expectation that his younger brother will receive much protection and magic from the gods. The priest steps forward to begin the ceremony. He opens a book and prays for him before officially informing the gods that he has reached age, while imploring them to show him the path that the boy must go. Cain hears an old man laughing. As the place becomes clear, he is transported to the world of the gods. To his shock, he stands before the 7 deities that sit around a table. They long for this day and address him as the Kazuya that takes him by surprise, because nobody told him that he was going to be transported. The main god Zay does not introduces himself, and Cain comments on the old man, but he informs him that he can hear everything he is thinking if he does not order Rain, the goddess of death, rebirth, to explain his situation. She reveals that his death was unexpected, and if he had not been interrupted, aggressor would have stumbled and been learned by the population. This makes him look bad because it means that his efforts were unnecessary, and it also took a lot of courage to run out to help. The god of your world was moved by his good deed and begged to be reincarnated in this new world. Rain blocked his memories during the state of breastfeeding and changing diapers because it would cause too much torment. She apologizes because he should remember his memories at the age of 3 years old. Cain is fine with this because since his memories came back quickly, he has been able to learn to write and use magic. He also has a happy and fulfilling life with his parents and sister, so he should thank her for keeping his memories with him. The goddess of magic likes his vibes, so she decides to grant him her protection to keep practicing if she doesn't give the next, and the god of war jumps on the bandwagon and gives him her help in using fencing and martial arts. The god of technology granted his blessing because he feels that there is not much entertainment in this world, so he must use conservatively his knowledge from his former life to progress in things. The god of commerce gives his blessing, allowing him to use the judgment and the skill of the item box last. The goddess of earth also gives her blessing, explains that his advantages are unique. He will know when he returns. He thanks everyone just as Zeno says. Everyone that his time is coming to an end. He, while sending Cain back to the priest, comments that this is the first time he sees the god shining so brightly. His father speculates that his son has received too much protection, so he asks Cain to show his status by looking at the protections he has achieved. Cain knows that it would be a problem if he showed them, so he pretends that his stomach is hurting to escape for, while he hides under one of the shelves and opens his status in private. In particular, he is shocked by the numbers and is glad that he did not. He's happy that he didn't show them that he is level 10 for all forms of martial and magical martial arts, as well as the item box skills are all at level 10. He also has the blessing of all the gods at level 10. The guy wonders what the gods were thinking of doing this to him based on his father's. On the basis of his father's explanation, he thought that the highest level was 5. Cain now knows what Z was not laughing about. The boy tries to find a way to hide these numbers. Fortunately for Elizina allowed him to create magic and hints that he should use concealment of status. Cain uses magic to change his status. Later he joins his family for dinner and apologizes for. He says he is feeling better before his father makes a toast to celebrate his 5th birthday. His mother comments on the light at the baptism and what it might mean, that she has never seen this happen to. This reminds her of her father who asks Cain to show his status, and they are shocked at what they are. Although he hides most of it, his father can't believe his magic score of over 344,000. Cain begins to think that he has not done the concealment correctly. His father observes that even the palace magicians have only about 10,000 in them. About 10,000, and the most frightening thing is that the boy is only 5 years old. The surprise does not end when he sees that he has the item box and the skill of judgment too. His father claims that with these skills, no matter what job he chooses, he will have guaranteed success. This is more amazing, so he told Cain to never show the status to anyone else. No one else, although it is promising. The kingdom may see you as a threat. One move long and you can be put under supervision of the state. He asks the 2 servants, and Sylvia promise not to tell anyone. After dinner, Cain goes to his room wondering what is considered an average statistic. He finds a book about summoning magic, invocation magic, and decides to go out with his sister to summon a cute creature, but he calls a demon instead. He goes to attack his sister. Cain is a flashback to the final moments of his previous life and jumps into danger again. He tries to hit a monster with a fire spell, but the monster grabs him and pushes him away. His will to protect his sister and his friend makes him send a monster to come back. He falls to the ground and loses consciousness. He wakes up with joy of the girl and is happy because this time people are smiling because of his actions. He is later presented at his debut to a crowd whose amazed look. Cain makes a speech and reveals his desire to protect everyone by becoming an adventurer who closes the episode.